3:30 in the morning is a terrible time to become anything, but 3:30 Wednesday morning is when Senator Mike McKool became the world's champion filibusterer. McKool had been talking since about 11:30 Monday morning. Lacking an hour and a half that the Senate took off for lunch Monday, McKool has been talking ever since, and continues. There are a couple of senators on the floor in the virtually deserted Capitol here in Austin, helping the senator reach his world record. And surprisingly, there are a number of people in the Senate gallery watching the senator reach the world-breaking mark. McKool continued talking after he reached that mark, but there was a brief interruption for a ceremony proclaiming him number one.
And the staff of the Senate wishes to confer this Star of Texas upon you and wish you well for the rest of the morning and for the rest of the 60 hours that you got to with each other to carry on the song.
Thank you, Senator. You have been with me throughout this whole fight, throughout the long nights when there weren't many people there. You were there, Senator. I appreciate you taking all the time to spend all of these hours with me.
For Senator Mike McKool, it was a very long day and a very, very long night. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move, on the floor of the Senate in Austin.
Well, Verne, I've had this problem. I had it last year, and I finally came up with it again this year. The first game I pitched was against Chicago, and I came up with a blister on my right hand on a finger, right on the tip. And now this one is on my ring finger, right by the knuckle. And I must be throwing right now because I've got the blister. I had it last year when I was throwing good, so I must be throwing right. So my blister's back.
Is it something that you think will disappear in time?
I think so. I think that it'll toughen up, become a callus, and I won't have any more problem with it. But I'll probably have trouble with it the first, part of every season, because it'll be tender from the off season, the winter time.
Bill, you had the string before you pitched such a great game against Oakland the other night. You had the string where you were giving up a lot of runs in single innings. Apparently somebody found out what you were doing wrong. Did you do it, or did somebody suggest it to you?
Well, it was a combination of things. When somebody is going bad, everybody, wants to help you. Pitching coach Sid Hudson, tried to suggest certain things for me to do. And Kenny Suarez, the catcher we got, he tried to help me. And I think one thing that helped me, it's a strange thing, I was in my living room. I picked up my little boy's glove. When you're going bad, you're really starting to think bad. And I started going through a pitching motion, and I found out I wasn't snapping my wrist. And I was throwing the ball without a wrist, and I think that helped me right there.
Just something as simple as that, huh?
As simple as that, right in the middle of my own home, right in the living room.
Well, you really had to be encouraged by that effort against Oakland, didn't you?
Oh, I was very happy with it.
Well, I hope so.
What do you think your wife is going to say? Does she know about it?
No, she don't, and I'm afraid to take that home, show it to her.
What do you think will happen?
Liable to run me off or leave herself.
to move ahead with our mentally ill, mentally retarded. For example, it was brought out that our mental health continue with to their mother, to their brothers and sisters, and have these loving with other states. Happen to be 46. 46. Texas shouldn't be 46 in anything. Empty mini beds in our institutional.
To abide by the law. I've never had any doubt but what they could get the money if they wanted it. They get the money for everything they want.
This should and can in the foreseeable future reduce the jail population some 200 or 300 individuals.
No, we do not. We're looking in a different field now than we have for so many years. We find it difficult at this point to, in many instances, to compete with industry insofar as starting salaries, and then, of course, finding the people who would be suitable for positions like this.
Well, the money will have to come from Commissioner's Court, Commissioner Whittington. What can you all do about it?
I'm just one of the court, but I know that we are ready to do what we need to do to come up with the money. I do know also that the Texas Criminal Justice Council is prepared to give us temporary assistance for personnel added costs which will be necessary to fulfill the court's requirements.
We went before the Board of Personnel, and we were told that it was against the hospital policy to picket. We said that
I'd like for them to pay me enough out of that building. I know my building has increased in value. My Lord, this was a little 7,000 people in Arlington when we built the building. And look at it now. It's over 100,000 people. Or leave me alone and let me collect my rent and rent my building.
As to what HEW would do, I have no idea, but I have to believe that they would attempt to do something which could be in the form of a lawsuit.
Do you as a superintendent have any thoughts on this action versus what the president has been saying recently about busing?
Having been in the central office for the past 5 years and have repeatedly dealt with HEW on similar lines, such as I've carried them many plans before that they did refuse. I've carried them some plans they okayed, which was in their guideline. In reading this letter that they sent to me yesterday, I cannot see one bit of difference in their guidelines today as to what I saw 5 years ago.
We have a complete color studio, and we will have 3 color cameras, which and 2 videotape recorders, which is very much like what you'd find in a commercial station. Now, this tied into education gives us at Skyline now the capability of transmitting programs to about 250 viewing areas in the building. We can send tape shows or film shows or live shows. We can pick up and relay anything on commercial or instructional television off the air. So presently our capability is quite extensive for a high school such as this. Now the future plans are to set up a 4-channel closed-circuit system utilizing Skyline as our transmission facility. I'll just say we're comprehensively equipped. We can do most things television stations can, maybe not on quite the scale that Channel 8 would do.
Now, we all of us receive the indictments of the people after they've been indicted, after the defendant has been indicted. We receive these cases on a pro rata basis. Henceforth, in the future, with the cooperation of the Sheriff of Dallas County, the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, and the District Attorney's Office, we will receive the names of the people, men and women, in jail once they have been filed on in the Justice of the Peace Courts of Dallas County on a pro rata basis.
Needless to say, a lot of people have criticized you for your stand on the jail, and they said it was just too much to ask, that you were trying to make the jail into a country club and that you're infringing on...
Well, that's perfectly ridiculous, of course. All I did as far as the jail is concerned is tell the Commissioner's Court that they should abide by the state law. The state law legislature many years ago set up qualifications for the jail, which have been ignored by commissioners' courts over the state, not just Dallas County.
The biggest portion of this jump has been in terms of insurance companies. This is, of course, you'll recall a year or so back whenever we refused to take the insurance company bonds, and well, we entered into a lawsuit to see whether or not we had to take them. And that the local court held that we did have a right to satisfy ourselves insofar as these bonds are concerned, yet the appellate court said that we did not. And so therefore we had to return to taking those bonds. And that's where the biggest increase comes from.
First of all, we said that we wouldn't picket outside the federal building, and that it would be justified if we did move further, maybe towards the park. And they said it was still against hospital policy. And we pointed out that this wasn't in the contract that we signed, and that they were liable to come up against this, and they should have pointed it out to us.
So what is your position with the hospital at this time?
At the moment, we were told we were dismissed from duty.